So I'm back. Hi, folks. This is fun. So I have returned, and it seems like you can hear me. And I can hear me too because I am not on mute. All right. Now I don't recall how to make the video return. So let's try to make that happen. Ba ba ba. In the meantime, did you notice I uploaded a new video today? It took me all day. So this is going to be one of those days because I did that review of. Oh, there's my giant face. Can you still not hear me? You can see and hear. Dare I hope? Uh, let's see how long this lasts. Oh boy. I literally spent most of the day fighting with technology, so I probably should have known better. But hey, that's life. Um, Hi, folks. So this is my first time doing this, and you know, if I make it through without saying like something really nasty about technology, I think we're gonna be good. Um, Although this is making me hungry, and it also makes me want some gin. So I was about to read for Spooky Boo, and I think that the name of the game is to like get to it and get some get some reading done while the technology cooperates. I'm going to do my best to say hi to everyone as I see them, but also consider like a blanket hello and I think you're awesome to folks if I miss you. I did not expect this many people. All right, so Spooky Boo wanted a reading about like sort of a new career and job stuff. So I'm using the Jean Noblette and I'm shuffling and I'm gonna try to sort of quiet myself for just a second because the anxiety of like, why won't this work? Can be totally alarming. As I said earlier, I am always a fan of doing readings sort of asynchronously because they make me less nervous. But this is kind of like that. All right. Shuffling this deck is a workout. So if you're looking for some cardio, or strength training. Riffle Shuffle the John Noblet Tarot. I usually stop shuffling about the time the deck starts misbehaving. There's a tip for you. So, what do we got? Card 1 is the Devil. Can you see that? Card 2 is the Eight of Swords. And card 3 is the Knight of Cups. So I love the Devil showing up at the beginning of this reading. And why I love that is because I think that the first thing it suggests, Spooky Boo, is to start this idea of looking for a new career in like a really sexy, I use that word too much, in a really earthy way, something that gets you excited about something that may be, maybe different for you, that may light a fire. The Devil card is super interesting to me because a lot of people view it as addiction. I think the Devil has that quality, but I also think that it can be about embracing earthier things. If we think about the pre-Christian devil, it's not about anything bad. It's about our more I'm trying to select the right word because I don't want it to sound like, oh, you should, be a prostitute. I think it should ignite something in you that connects to like your deep essence. Do you know what I mean? And that the Eight of Swords suggests something that really makes your mind feel really good, and that stimulates your mind. The Knight of Cups suggests sort of going in search of something that you're going to love. Now, that's a collection of meanings. It's not the most practical answer. So what I'm going to do now is try to sort of reach for something that's a little bit more a piece of advice. I think it's important to know, just sort of visually, this isn't easy to do. I'm going to try to make it happen. I'm not sure what this is going to look like for you, maybe backwards, but the Knight of Coins is running toward the Knight of Cups is running toward the Eight of Swords and the Devil. And the Devil does love gin. Hi, folks who are joining. So the Knight of Cups is like, let's go and hunt for something that makes me feel really good. The combination with the Eight of Swords suggests that there's some work to do in terms of putting communication out. So this combination of the Knight and the Eight of Swords suggests that you may be focusing on sort of what feels good, but you need to do some work in terms of like opening up the lines of communication to people who see, I'm not getting this like in the direction I want it to be, but it may want to open up the lines of communication. You may want to do some what is known as see, I get totally, my brain gets faster than my mouth. It's like interest-based interviewed, where you go and you sort of search out people who are doing the kind of work you're doing, or companies that are doing the kind of work you want to be doing, and you go to them and say, hey, talk to me about what would make me an interesting candidate for you. There's something about the Devil too that suggests kind of sticking to and trapping yourself in doing this work. You know what I mean? Because there is a certain amount of effort that's going to go into finding this new thing. You know what I mean? So in order to start a new career, which I think you said in the previous chat was interesting to you, then I think that it's like making a commitment, almost with the devil an obsessive commitment to like hunting for something that both is stimulating and that feels good. Um, it's going to need to be like an obsession for you. So it feels like there's definitely a possibility here if you have it in you to kind of open up gates of communication that are not necessarily things that you would do in the normal job seeking process. And I think that that is, in a way, when we are looking to change our careers, especially if we're looking to do something that's kind of out of our work history, it's useful to think in terms of um, networking. And I think that this can suggest that. The Knight of Cups certainly moving towards that Eight of Swords suggests like moving into the work of like communicating, writing letters, making phone calls, sending emails, and connecting, if that makes sense. So hopefully that is helpful, Spooky Boo. This seems to be kind of uh like an advice reading, and I think that's because I didn't super ask a specific question, um because of the fact that I had technical difficulties. But I do hope that this helps because I think I think the way that a lot of job searching works these days is to go out, especially if we are looking for a change of career, is to go out and network and kind of find out what employers are looking for and what skills we may want to develop. The the reality I've noticed is that I'm actually in a position where I'm hiring for a job now, and I'm getting a lot of emails directly to me saying, "What do you want to see before I apply? Like, what are you actually looking for?" So, all right, let us see now. I promised Taranis would go next because she has definitely not only been super supportive of me doing this and excited about it, but she was like the first one in the room. So I'm just pausing for a second to see if I got any questions or anything. Jin, I love it when people talk about Jin, but also when people associate me with Jin, because Jin is like mother's milk to me, to quote My Fair Lady. Um, Someone's upset with the amount of shuffling I did. I love shuffling cards. I think it's super relaxing. All right. So Taranis has a question. So Taranis, you're up next. I think you said you wanted the marshmallow. So is there a specific question you've got? Let me know. And I will pause in the meantime. I'm glad that was helpful, Spooky Boo. I really should have, like, as I go through this, and I and I make this happen. I'm a fan of pointing out my mistakes, and one of the things I should have done was clarified the kind of question we were really asking for you. I'm a big believer in the importance of questions. Um, because I think the more specific the question is, the more specific the reading can be. All right, so I see Taranis here. I have a blanket palette, too many options, can't pick one. Is there anything the cards can say besides Jin? So what I'm going to do for you, Taranis, this is something I've been doing lately. I have been doing a sort of an oracle draw for general readings, or if someone I'm reading for can't make up their mind about what they want a reading on. So I'm going to use the Halloween Oracle for this. Full disclosure, I did take a card out of this deck because I felt like it wasn't super useful in terms of narrowing the focus of a reading. The Midnight card, which says the most, magical hour of all. I just didn't feel like that was super helpful. So I'm going to draw a card here to see, Taranis, if that can give us focus. Fire of Transformation associates me with brandy. That's interesting. I don't ever think I've had brandy to drink. I've used it in cooking. I've used it I make an eggnog cake during the holiday season, and it's got a brandy glaze. So maybe I should drink more brandy. I probably should not drink more of anything other than water, frankly. All right. So I'm gonna try to focus a little bit more than I did for poor Spooky Boo. Thank you for saying that was helpful. Because it was a little scattershot. All right, I do riffle shuffle this deck, by the way. I find it easier than overhand shuffling. All right, so we've got the werewolf for you as your theme, exploring wildness. So I think this is totally appropriate for a pre-Halloween reading. So Taranis, we're going to explore how you should be exploring wildness in your life a little bit more. I think you said you wanted the Marshmallow Marseille. I apologize if I did not get that right. I am but a humble nerd fighting with technology. Oops. I'm shuffling, by the way, the Marshmallow Marseille. I have a card backwards in here, which is one of my favorite decks, and it's the one that's going to illustrate my book. And it shuffles so well. Like, if you're a riffle shuffler, this is a really sexy deck to shuffle. And interestingly, they just released a majors and I think night set. So if you don't want to spend the money on the whole deck, you could take their set of the majors and the nights and add it to a poker deck. So. All right. So how can Taranis embrace that wild side? How can she get her inner werewolf on? First up is the Queen of Cups. Interesting. Next up is the Eight of Swords again. Huh. And then finally, we've got Temperance reversed. So the Eight of Swords clearly wants to be part of our conversation tonight. And what that suggests as the middle card to me right now is that there's something in your head, you know, and it's making me think of the Cranberry song Zombie. There's something in your mind that can give you access to embracing some wilder part of you. And that could be, again, giving voice to it. You know what I mean? Sometimes putting thought into word, which to me is partly what the Suit of Swords does. Putting thought into word can be a good beginning. So if there's something that you're thinking a lot about and that has been mulling over and you've been sort of working over in your mind, I think that you may want to explore that. Now, Temperance reversed, I'm going sort of not in any particular order. Temperance reversed right out of the gate suggests like throwing caution to the wind and not necessarily allowing logic and balance to be a focus. So it could be sort of time, you know, like sometimes when I see the Temperance reversed in a reading, it's like, let's have a party. And then the Queen of Cups is here as well, and she's emotionally intelligent. Now, as I'm looking at this setup, the Queen of Cups is actually looking away from the rest of the cards. So she's looking to the left. So she's the first. Again, I wanted to try to do this where I could sort of flip the camera down. So Tarana says, bingo, having trouble balancing my mind right now, longing for it, but afraid to step out. Well, balance is always a tricky thing. The Queen of Cups. Oops. This is not easy. The Queen of Cups. I give Kelly a lot of credit for doing this every week, and Simon and Two Spirit. The Queen of Cups is looking away. So I think that what that suggests, in combination with the Temperance, which also is sort of looking away from the mind, is like doing what you can to stop focusing so much up here. And if you think about the werewolf, you know, from the draw of the oracle, I think that there's something to be said about how life has required of us in modern times a fair amount of living in the boundaries. And there's something about the swords suit in Marseille, and it creates a boundary. And so there may be something about like breaking out of the boundary of your mind, and just going on instinct. You know what I mean? Like a werewolf, destructive presences though they may be, are instinctive, and they go on instinct. So it may be time for you to take the intuition. What did you say here? Back in the day, I was the queen of spontaneous and I long to get back. So if we think about the partnership of the Queen of Wands and the werewolf, I say that this suggests sort of running on instinct a little bit. Breaking through, even if we think about the Rider-Waite-Smith version of the Eight of Swords, I think that breaking through the mental shackles could be super duper useful for you. Temperance reversed, I you know, I don't want to like suggest risky behavior, right? But what I think Temperance reverse suggests is that, like, you know, you mentioned in your comment that balance was something that you crave. Like, I think that there's something to be said for embracing imbalance. And what I mean by that is we can't make our minds behave differently than they do. But what we can do is not let them prevent us from taking action. So, as a very swordsy person myself, I find that it takes me a lot of effort to put thought into deed. And I think, you know, what this reading suggests is, even if you start with something small, you know, what's one of those things that you want to do that you can put into deed? You know, it, like that weekend away, or that conference, or, you know, the small step. One of the things we do when we try to make big changes, and this actually applies, Spooky Boo, if you're still on, to looking for a new job. One of the things that we do when we come up with a goal, like I want to be more adventurous, I want to be more wild, is that I'm going to change everything. And where Temperance upright may have some influence here is that it's not about changing everything, it's about changing the first thing. Oh, you crave less balance, but you're afraid because your logical mind is penning me up. So it's totally like a Rider-Waite-Smith Eight of Swords situation. Do something small. You know, give yourself permission to, like, you know, I don't know, like spontaneously, you know, even take a different route to the store. You know what I mean? Something small that breaks you out of your habit could be super helpful in terms of just unlocking the memory, the sense memory of like the adventurous thing we used to have. So does that help? I hope so. I'm a big believer, and this comes from my corporate life. in the idea of performable, measurable objectives. And what I suggest when a reading seems to be about advice is once you come through the reading, to spend a few minutes sitting down and saying, okay, what's one performable, measurable objective I can set for myself in the next couple days so that I feel like I made progress? And performable and measurable basically means that you can do it and that you can see the result of it. So if the result is to be less balanced, less logical, it may be as simple, again, as like taking a different route on the way to work or to the store, a day trip to the beach. Absolutely. And then add more of those small, performable, measurable objectives. And then before you know it, you're doing things that you weren't necessarily giving yourself permission to do before. Yes, Thrifty Mystic, actionable items. I don't know how much I talked about this in my videos. I work in adult learning, and what that basically is corporate training. I design learning events, and we talk all the time about action items and commitments and making a commitment to yourself. And I think tarot is sort of like a training experience because it's teaching us something we may have known or we may not have considered, but that's going to change us, and we can give ourselves permission to act on that. All right, so let's see. Now, I know a lot of folks, as I've been reading, have been trying to ask me questions. There's really no easy and fair way to get to everybody who wants me to do a reading. So I'll plug my Etsy shop, which is Curious Journey Tarot. If I can't get to you and you want a reading from me, you can check me out there. My readings are not super expensive, and you have the added benefit of knowing that I will not be doing it live and will have time to think about it. But let's see. I'm just going to do this like first come, first serve. So let's throw this back out there. So the first person I see who asks me a question right now, I will do reading for next. And that just seems to be the easiest and fairest way to do it. God, it's so weird seeing my face this huge. I apologize that I'm not getting everyone's comments. I really wish it were. It's focusing on the cards and sort of interpreting them means that I can't read everything, but I hope you're getting this. So I got Thrifty Mystic asking, should I start my course? So should I restart my course? So Thrifty Mystic, I think you've got it. And I just want to make sure that that's actually a question you're asking and not like just chatting generally with the group. Letty, thank you for asking that. I actually don't read for health in particular because it makes me, first, frankly, it just makes me nervous. I don't want to say anything that could, be a bad influence in some way. I read on almost everything except for health and legal things, mostly because I don't want to get sued. All right, Lori, yes. I'm going to do my best to remember everyone's names. I'm even worse at this than other people. What am I going to use for this one? Cool. Thank you for that information, Lori. So I've been on hold with a long-term course I was taking and have no motivation to restart. Boy, do I know that feeling. I'm not sure if restarting is in alignment with my goals. All right. And thanks for that, Taranis. I'll do Donna next. Cool. What deck am I going to use? Let's mix it up. What do I have? I'm going to use Santa Muerta. I don't know if that bothers anyone. Oh, thanks for that. I'm really liking this deck, and I hope it's not going to piss anyone off that I'm using it. I know that some people have strong feelings about it. I just sort of want to spend a little time, and it's sitting right here. P.S. I edged this in linen, and it gives it sort of a stained, like aged look, and I really like it. All right, so just give me a little moment to shuffle. I literally could just spend hours shuffling. Sometimes when I'm sitting around watching like TV, I just shuffle away. All right, we've got the Two of Swords. We've got Judgment. And we've got the Queen of Wands. Now, in my Marseille decks, I actually use reversals. So when I have a reversed court card, I look at that as actually meaning the person I'm reading for. And if I have an upright court card, I look at that as being someone in their life. In this case, I don't have any reversals in this deck. But because this reading is about you, I think that obviously the Queen of Wands is going to represent you. So the Two of Swords right out of the gate just sort of confirms to me this place you're in of being of two minds about something, and reconciling things when we can't make up our minds is like, you know, the hallmark of being a human, I think. The fact that it's a scissor in this reading and it's the first card may suggest cutting ties with it. It's just, you know, it's an interesting detail that you may want to consider visually. Also, the Judgment card is like this moment of waking up after doing that. So I wonder if giving yourself permission to let go of this thing that you're not motivated to do will actually ignite the Queen of Wands in your life. It may give you like an energy and a fire and a passion to nurture something that you're actually really passionate about. You know, sort of cutting ties with it may actually be the thing that wakes you up to what you really want to be doing. Now, I'm a big fan of education, and certainly once we've invested time and money into something, I feel like you know, it's worth completing. But the other thing I would say is that if you're not motivated to do it, what are you going to get out of it? And that's the question that you may ask yourself is like, you know, what's the return on investment if you stick with it? You know, if you stick with it and you're not motivated, what are you going to take out of it? Because the thing with education of any type is that we only retain what we are interested in. In order, and this is like a science thing, in order for something to move from short-term memory into long-term memory, it has to have value. And if it doesn't have value, we don't remember it. It's why we, you know, those of us who are learning tarot, it's why we remember, because it has value to us, what the cards mean. It's why we remember our loved ones' birthdays. So value is one thing. The other thing is a consequence. So if there's a consequence in not remembering it, then we also may remember it. So, you know, like for example, if we are going to lose our job if we don't finish the certification. That's a consequence that may motivate us. But if there's no motivation, I feel like um, this Queen of Wands is saying there's something that you could be nurturing and bringing to life that you're really passionate about that could make you really super happy. Does that help? Normally I don't like to give finite answers like that because I feel like I'm taking responsibility, but I sometimes letting go is good. 13 minutes. Lori said, yeah, that makes sense. Sometimes there is a time and place for that choice, but I've moved past that now. I really don't feel good. So that makes sense. Cool, good. I'm glad that works. And yes, things change. I won't get into that, but yes. All right, so Taranis, you're like my agent. I love that about you. I don't deserve it, but I love it. So is Donna still on? Because Taranis mentioned that Donna was the first person in the room with a question. So if she's still on, I would be happy to read for her. If not, then I will go with Student Witch, or Rachel, who just asked a question. I'm laughing at myself because I can see the delay, and I look exhausted. Turnus, I don't know how to create a moderator, and just given I would absolutely have you do that. I absolutely don't know how to make it happen, and I had so many technical issues that I didn't want to mess with anything. But you could totally be my moderator. All right, so she's checking to see if Donna's still on. In the meantime, I'm going to go with Rachel's question. I'm going to use the same deck because I just kind of liked how that read. So Rachel asked, I've recently implemented a new action plan to help me be more productive in studying for my PhD exams. Wow, congratulations. How can I better implement this plan, and what should I look out for? All right, let's see what we can come up with. Whoops. Boom. I think I did it. Magic. Shuffling in front of people is not easy. By the way, while I do this, let me say the next question, I feel like doing a Sibylla to test that out and see how that works, because it's new to my life. So if you want a Sibylla reading, Tom Benjamin style, let me know in the comments in the chat, because I think next that might be fun. One more. All right, Christina, I got you. We'll be next. All right, Rachel. So first up, we have the Knight of Swords. I think that's super appropriate. The Star. And the Queen of Swords. Very swordsy. Makes total sense. All right, so here's what I think. You may not like this answer, but what I think is that first up, you just got to make a commitment to do it and do it. The thing with planning, and I've learned this myself recently, is that if we don't make an active commitment to doing it, to be the knight and like go out there and like knights don't rest, and I think of them as hunters. So it's like you just got to keep pushing, you got to keep going. You have a direction to go in. The star suggests that. So the star is like your compass, you know what I mean? You know where you're going, and it seems like the star's appearance here suggests that your plan is actually really a good one. It's you know it's a good, this is like a nice validation of the plan that you've come up with for yourself. But if you don't make the active effort to like get in there every day and commit to that plan, it's not, it doesn't, like if we're not making the journey, um, the destination doesn't matter, So it's like if you don't make the commitment to actually doing the work. Now, the Queen of Swords in this little combo um, suggests to me a few things. I think that the Queen of Swords in this case uh, asks of you to be a little gentle with yourself when you fail, right? Because if you are all knight, if you're all pushing, if you're all forward motion, then you don't give yourself a break. With the queen, it's also saying like take care of your mind. One of the things about study is that it actually demands breaks. If we try to cram everything in, there's only so much that can pass through the filter from short-term into long-term memory. So, for example, if I'm going to study for a test, if I take 6 days and I study nonstop for 6 days, it's likely going to be less effective than if I study day 1 and take day 2 off, study day 3, take day 4 off, study day 5, take 6 off, and then study before the test. Because what happens is we have to internalize it. So I think the Queen suggests giving yourself a little bit of permission to rest, to take care. You know what I mean? Queens are nurturers. So to take care of ourselves, to take care of our minds, which is what swords are about, so that you really make the commitment to being active and you stick to that direction you've set for yourself. But that if you have a bad day, you accept it as a bad day and you forgive yourself for that and you care for yourself about that. And that you're also just sort of doing things that are nurturing to your brain, like eating well, probably not drinking a whole lot of alcohol while you study, staying hydrated, sleeping, all of those things that take care of the gray matter. That I think is going to go a long way to helping you stick to your plan. So I think I saw you respond here. I think that hits the nail on the head. It's good to know my plan is solid. That brings me some peace. You do, yeah. Following through is the hardest part for everybody, and that's why I like the balance of the queen, because the queen has enough. Like the knight is our youthful experience, who's going to say, I have to do this and I have to do it all the time and be totally right on all the time. And the queen's like, no, you're going to have a bad day. You're going to have a time where you want to take a nap instead of looking at the book. And that nap is going to help you just as much as looking at the book is, as long as you don't nap all the time, all the time. So I feel like that, like the knight and the queen are a super nice balance here for you. The difficulty, whether it's studying, learning, dieting, is that the only way to do it is to do it. Like I went to see a nutritionist not long ago, and she gave me this book, and I'm supposed to be tracking my daily eating habits, and I have not done it since the 10th of October. So like 20 days I haven't done it. And it's sitting here and it's like, I know I need to do it, but I'm not doing it. So, but the only way to do it is to do it. Like I said earlier, if you were on at that point, Rachel, one of the things that's helpful is small achievable goals too. So keep that in mind. Like now that we've had this chat, and if you found this helpful, like take the balance of the Knight of Swords and the Queen of Swords and say, all right, what's realistic for me to do in the next 3 days? What's realistic for me to do 3 days after that? So that you're not trying to boil the ocean, to use a corporate cliche. You know, how do you focus on small achievable goals that you can see your progress? By the way, for anyone who is like me or like Rachel in a situation where we need to push through and, you know, do the thing that we should be doing, there's a great book called The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay Stanier. And why I bring that up, because it's actually a book about coaching people if you have direct reports in your job. But he has some great videos on his website about how to build effective habits, and they're super useful. And one of them is to keep them really small. So I would say check him out and check out his videos. I don't remember the name of his website, but it's Michael, and then Bungay is Bungay, and Stanier, I think, is Stanier. Michael Bungay Stanier, and it's called The Coaching Habit. And on his website, he's got some videos, and there's I can't do that, 3 short videos on building habit. And anyone out there who's trying to like eat better or, you know, build their studying, that could be super helpful. So, oh, thanks, Ray. I'm glad that helped. I really am. Good night, Two Spirit. Thanks for joining us. I wish we had chatted more. This is really sort of a surreal experience to be doing this. And anyone I've missed who's come and gone, thanks for being part of this. Hi to the folks who've entered and joined. Yeah, doing the work and not beating yourself up when you need a break, 100%. All right, Christina asked, I'm going to do a Sibylla for her. I'm just going back to find her question. How do I best help my family right now? All right. Now, I have not actually done a whole lot of advice readings using Sibylla, so this is going to be interesting. I'm going to do 9 cards for this one and try to read them kind of quickly and see how that goes. I have never done an advice reading with Sibylla, so I would like, as I do this, to preface for anyone who has not watched my video on this, that I do not read Sibylla in a traditional way. In fact, I call it modern Sibylla to distance myself from folks. Not to distance myself from folks, but to make it clear that I'm not making an attempt to do it the old-fashioned way. Because I just, I found that it was really difficult with Lenormand to really stick to the rules. So I'm just shuffling away. So how can Christina best help her family? I have such a small desk. I don't have a lot of room. So like the setup I have for my laptop and then my microphone, because I'm using an external microphone, so the sound quality is a little better. Evie, absolutely. I think sometimes you gotta make it your own. I think ultimately, no matter what your path is and what tool you're using, you learn the system, you learn the foundation. If you don't make it your own, you're not super reading anything, I think. All right, making some space. This is the Gypsy Oracle card deck, and I should say that if you are interested in Sibylla, Norse Pagan Witch, who is in this chat room right now, hey there, has a lot of really good videos on this, and you should check them out. So card 1 is the Merchant. Card 2 is the Doctor. Card 3 is the Lord. Let me give myself more room here. I'm not showing them because there's going to be 9. Card 4 is the Enemy reversed. Card 5 is Hope. Card 6 is Waiting reversed. Card 7 is Falseness. Card 8 is the Servant, and card 9 is Sighs, which in the other deck is Longing, I believe. So how can you help your family most right now? The way that I do this is I look at the 2 cards first, the middle and the first card. You can't see what I'm seeing, but it's the Merchant and the Doctor. I try to get a thesis. I think about this as setting up a like a thesis for a paper, and then I let the rest of the cards try to support that thesis or add more color to it or prove it wrong so that I can reevaluate. The Merchant combined with the Doctor to me suggests like a two-sided pillar of stability, of being a two-sided pillar of stability, that you be as healing a presence as you can be, but that you also remind people of like the business that needs to get done. You know what I mean? So I feel like the central message here is that be a healing presence to whatever's going on. And again, I don't know what the specifics are for your family right now, you know what I mean, but sort of being a healing presence as much as you can, but also reminding people that there's things that need to be done. So while you're being a healing presence, part of that is like, look, this is the way it is in the real world, and we're going to have to deal with that. It is interesting. So now I'm going to look at the 3 rows and then the 3 columns and any other combos that I might need. But the first row, we have Doctor, Lord, and Enemy reversed. They may need you to be the motor. And while that may be frustrating for you, it feels like things won't get better unless you are the person who's saying, here, look, from my experience, this is what I would do. You know what I mean? And the best way you can be a friend to them is actually being a leader. The second row is Hope, the Merchant, and Waiting reversed. And what I think this suggests is, sorry, I'm just trying to find the words. I had this brilliant combination for this and it popped out of my head. And by the way, Christina, if anything I'm saying is not making sense, be sure to let me know so I can rejigger the reading. But it's like, hope is helpful, but if you're waiting for things to get better, they're not. Like, passivity is not going to be helpful. And recognizing the business of the work that needs to get done for whatever's happening in your family, and being the person who's willing to say, look, hope is nice and we can hope for the best, but this is what we need to do. The third row is Falseness, the Servant, and Sighs. And again, Sighs I look at as sort of longing. And there's like these interesting combinations of like hope and waiting and longing. The combination of Falseness and the Servant and Sighs, it suggests a couple things to me. Sometimes you need to be tricky about getting people to do the work that needs to get done in order to get them active. You know what I mean? So you may need to be a little sneaky about activating people and making them want to get involved in healing whatever needs to be healed. If we think about the Doctor card in that beginning combo, because people can just sort of wait and say, I wish things were better. Sometimes we have to trick them into being active. Now I'm going to look at the columns. So the first column is Doctor, Hope, and Falseness. Um, so again, like a really interesting combo of like, being an authority, being a healing presence who provides hope, um, but I think doesn't provide false hope, And so there's like a certain amount of honesty here that's saying, look, things can get better, but I'm not going to lie to you about where we're at. The middle column is Lord, Merchant, and Servant. And this to me is all about being in charge of this work. You know what I mean? The servant or the maid is sort of work to me. The merchant is business and the Lord is in charge. And this is like the middle column. It's like the middle post of the reading. So, you may need to be the mentor for everyone in this case, because they need that guiding presence. That doesn't mean you have to do all the work. And I think that's important to point out. What it does mean is that you're sort of the person who points out the work that needs to be done. That row resting on the maid means that you have a little bit of work to do. You're part of the overall team. But the Lord at the top of that column suggests like you need to also like say, nah, that's not my job. That's your job. Now, the final column, we have enemy reversed, waiting reversed, and size. And this to me just sort of seems like the enemy is passivity. You know what I mean? Like nothing's going to get better if we just wait for stuff to get better and be waiting and like, oh, I wish this were the case. This is hitting the nail on the head. That's kind of awesome. This is accurate and spooky. Nice. It is spooky sometimes. So, like in summary, it feels like you can be the healing presence by balancing that with like, this is the work that needs to be done. You may need to do a little like, I don't want to say falseness, but a little creativity in getting people to see how to be more active in the process. Don't provide false hope, but make them see that things can get better. So, does that help? I hope it does. So I'm going to pause for a second and let that be. But based on what you've said in the comments, I feel like that could be helpful. I really like these cards. I'm going to take a little risk now, and I'm going to try the Hermes playing cards, which I have not done a reading with yet. And it factors into the Lenormand world, which isn't my forte. So who would like a question next? First person I see in comments, I'm going to read for using I see Rose Christ here already. Tom, love my move to New Mexico, my fiance. How can I best get all these puzzle pieces together and bring it into happening? Please and grateful. All right, Rose Christ, you're next. I'm going to use the Hermes reading cards for you. This is Robert M. Place's deck, the Hermes playing card oracle. This is like a combination of Lenormand and tarot. No, not Lenormand and tarot. Lenormand and playing cards. I don't have it out, but it's actually very similar in many ways to the maybe Lenormand. Oh, by the way, look at this. I'm going to do a walkthrough. I'm waiting for another oracle deck to come in, but my moderator, Taronis, sent me this amazing White Mojo Lenormand set, which comes in this like really dope plastic box, and this great book. And it's beautiful. And this is a Lenormand deck that has some extra cards, so I'm really excited about it. So thank you, Taronis, for this really generous, super duper thing. Love it so much. Can't wait to do a walkthrough of that. I have some nature-based decks. Well, I have one that I'm waiting to come in. I like to do Oracle decks because their walkthroughs are really fast. I like to bash them. So as soon as that comes in, I'm going to do that. All right. So Rose Christ, let me just reconfirm here. So you're moved to New Mexico and your fiance. How can I best get all these puzzle pieces together to bring them happening? All right. Let's see how I can help you out there if I can. So this is an experiment for me because I have not read with this deck yet. I've only done a reading with it. So this is what it looks like. I will show these cards because, just for the sake of it. They're straight up playing card with Oracle sort of images on them. The Lenormand cards are in here, and then Lenormand is a PK deck, so the what is it? 2, 3, 4, and 5 are additional. All right. And we all love Robert in Place, so how can you go wrong? How are we doing on time? Oh, we've got plenty of time. Oh, Christina, I'm glad it was spot on. I hope it was helpful. I do. So I'm going to do another 9 card with these because similar to Sibylla, it's very terse and quick. All right, so card number 1 is Cupid. Card number 2 is the Star. Card 3 is Agreement, or Shaking Hands. Get the Ring. The Flowers, the Bouquet. Letter, or Message. The Lion. The Pig. This is a good card, by the way. Love this card. And then finally, Scales. So just like I did with the last one, I'm going to sort of look at the first two in combo to kind of give an overall sense of the message of the reading. I will, again, like I said at the beginning, this is not a deck I've worked with before, and I've had some struggles with Lenormand as a reader. So just bear with me. I feel like this might be it's an experiment. So Rose Christ, thank you for letting me use this as an experiment, and I hope this is helpful. Just throwing out a disclaimer, first of all. But the combination of Cupid and the Star suggests really a confirmation of what you told me at the beginning, which is that you seem to love the direction you're going in, and you're really passionate about that direction. Being passionate about a direction that you're taking is a really important thing to do. Now, letting passion sort of just sit there and not make it active, of course, doesn't help. But having a fire lit under us is good. So that's a good thing. So keep that fire lit. I think that's the first message. Now, the first row we have is the Star, Shaking Hands, and Agreement. And what this suggests to me is that the commitments that you're making, I think your fiance, you mentioned you have a fiance, I think that the direction of your relationship is one thing that's going to keep you moving, right? Because the relationship, of course, is going to motivate you. But one thing that I think this can also suggest, because the commitment there, I think, is a given, right? Because you've agreed to get engaged, is that making a commitment to the move, to me, might be an interesting thing to do. Like, again, it doesn't need to be marrying the move, right? But what I think could be an interesting first thing if you are looking to move somewhere, and I think, tell me if I'm misinterpreting your question so that I can recalibrate. But I think, for example, like if you're looking to move to New Mexico, like setting up appointments to view apartments or houses, like making a commitment to do that means that you're actually more likely to follow through, so that like you make the commitment to taking a trip there to look at apartments, right? Or something like that. That's the first row. So I think making a commitment to this move in some way could push you further into that direction you want to go in. The second row, we have the Bouquet, we have Cupid again, and we have Message or Letter. So this is a really interesting thing. I think that the passion and love you feel for this, there's clearly a lot of like passion in this for you. I think that you may have like an idealistic view of it. It's not necessarily a bad thing because again, that can keep us going. But the combination of like that beauty and the cupid, like the rose, the sorry, the bouquet. I'm getting tired. The bouquet, Cupid, and the letter suggests to me again maybe sort of putting your goals into writing and making again. This is like my theme tonight, but those practical objectives, those performable, measurable objectives, things you can actually do. So to make a list of things you can do. The other thing I would say is that you may want to contact some people in the area or make connections with folks, uh, email some folks, and I think that could be like a good step to bringing the puzzle pieces together. The bottom row is the lion, the pig, and the scales. So the lion suggests being like ferocious and like firm in your commitment to doing this, and the I love the pig card. I think it's just about doing the work and getting dirty and like making things happen. Um, but balancing it in the scheme of like life, you know what I mean? So what you want to do is sort of balance like your ferocious energy and doing the work with the fact that life keeps going as you're trying to make things happen. As I look at the columns, we've got star, flowers, and lion. So the direction that you're going in is real. It feels like it's a really good energy around it. Like it feels like getting there is a good thing. Um, it is going to take some energy. It's going to take some ferocity, and some just good old fashioned like focus and dedication. Um, the middle column is the handshake or the agreement, Cupid and the pig. I love this too because I think this is all about how much the relationship can motivate you because you're not doing this alone. So you can get in the dirt and make things happen with someone else. And that always makes things more achievable. The final column is the ring, the letter, and the scales or balance. What I think this suggests is that it may be easier to make the move once the commitment is actually inked. You know what I mean? Now, this could suggest actually signing a lease or signing papers or actually doing the marriage. But like once I'm thinking about this not just as scales, but as justice and tarot. Like once the commitment is written out and it's like signed, sealed, and delivered, that may actually make things move more quickly. So overall, there's a lot of things you can do. I feel like to distill this into a message of bringing those puzzle pieces together, um, isn't isn't my forte with Lenormand stuff, but I would say there's a lot to do here with making the commitment and being ferocious in your dedication to it. So while the impending marriage is helpful, I think the more you can do to commit to the location you want to go to commit to New Mexico, and like uh, go and see apartment, like find ways that it's going to be harder for you to break that to yourself. I think the focus is on finding little commitments you can make to that move. Um, but the energy around it and the sort of sense of passion that you have for this direction feels like that's going to keep you motivated. Um, Getting things down on paper too feels like it's going to be really important, and making things official. I feel like that's super duper um, important. So, Rose Christ, I hope that's helpful. Let me know. Thank you for your thank you for that. I really appreciate it. This is fun, and not just because you're complimenting me. I have another one waiting in the wing. Fire of Transformation has one about her job, and we love Fire of Transformation. So let's do that one. It's 7:33. Let's see how long that one takes me, and then maybe I'll do one more after that. Oh, good, Rose Chris. Thank you. I'm super happy. I'm really, really happy that this is helpful. It sounds like this is a good thing. I've always wanted to visit New Mexico. So I think I'm gonna, do I need some water? I'm good. I made sure to hydrate during the day. Actually, that's a lie. So we're gonna do Fire of Transformation next. And I just need your question. And then I'm probably going to pick the deck based on what your question is, because I have so many here before me. That is her question. Okay, so Fire Transformation asked, I want to find a job in the industry, currently in science, but that's a difficult shift. How can I best accomplish it to be a successful shift? Okay, let's see. What am I going to read with? I wish I had brought the Tower of the Four Elements in here, because I would have used that one for you. I'm going to use Tarot Noir, this big bad boy. By Winter Night Hair. Sorry we didn't get to chat more. Thank you for this. And yes, have a great week. I can see myself making these faces as I go through, and I'm like, boy, that's a creepy face. So I feel like I need a pre-reading. All right, so how can Fire Transformation make this shift most? I just want to make sure I got the words right. I want to find a job in this industry, but that's a difficult shift. How can I best accomplish this shift? All right. I'm going to shuffle this one for a little while longer because I can't riffle shuffle it, and it's kind of a monster. I do love it, though. It started to misbehave, so I think it's done. All right, so I'm going to do 3 cards again with the Marseille. So the first one is the Queen of Swords. Then we have the Knight of Swords. These 2 cards are like getting a workout tonight. And then we have Death, 13. So change, nice. I think that this is such a fascinating combination. What I'm going to say first out of the gate is that in order to switch, I feel like the first thing you need to do is spend some time nurturing. I use that word a lot with the queens. I actually kind of hate that because I feel like it's sexist, but I'm just going to go with it. One of the things that's hard for folks who are making a shift in career is making it clear to others that their skills actually apply to this change they want to make. And so with the Queen of Swords, what I would say is to start by actually sitting down and thinking about all this experience you have, right? Because the Queen is super experienced. Not only is the Queen super experienced, she's kind of like, she's a mentor to others. So it suggests you have a lot of experience that's applicable to this change. But what you're going to need to do is really spend a lot of time sort of, I want to use the word in repose. That's not quite what I mean, but just sort of in intellectually think about, like, how do the skills I have that I've used in my life up to this point apply to this change I want to make? And then the Knight of Swords is then going to go out and demonstrate how those skills are active. So what you're going to need to do, I think, based on this reading, is to spend a lot of time really thinking about what the skills are that you have, and then how you make that clear to potential interviewers. And you may have to go out there and like get people's attention, because, you know, as someone who works as a hiring manager in a job, oftentimes what happens is that before a resume gets to the hiring manager, a recruiter is reviewing everything and saying, "Oh, this person doesn't have that skill." What you're going to need to do is like get attention and cut through all the other candidates and say, "Here are all these skills that I've got that that make me applicable." And then with card 13, which I think is so interesting, is it's like you you do you make the commitment to the end of what you used to be doing. You know what I mean? And with this card, I actually talked about this in a video recently. The thing with this card is that it takes what has come before and recycles it into something new. So it's literally like planting a garden. You know what I mean? You don't just put seeds don't just grow. You know what I mean? They need fertile soil to grow in. So again, this sort of underscore, like I talked about, this means a commitment to finishing what's past, but it's also like you have all of this experience that I talked about. You got to let it fertilize and create a fertile environment so that these new seeds can grow. Now, what that suggests is that this shift may take some time, because you're going to have to do all that work that I talked about. You're going to have to try to get people's attention, you know what I mean, and compete, excuse me, potentially against others who have more experience in that field, but may not necessarily be the right candidate. So, you know, planting the seeds may mean that you're going to have to spend time and make a commitment to doing it. But all of this stuff that you have that's come before, like, creates a fertile environment, you know what I mean, for the change to happen. And the change will happen with this card because it's inevitable. You know what I mean? So like the inevitability of card 13 is like it's gonna happen. So that's like a really nice punctuation mark. But getting there may mean some effort and really sort of turning the earth. I'm using a lot of metaphors with this, but all this experience you have and the going out and searching for it means it's gonna be an effort, and you're really gonna need to till the ground so that the environment becomes conducive to you getting what you want, if that makes sense. So it's like it's for you right now, it's like late winter, early spring in terms of this. If you think about like the journey of making this shift. Um, so you've got to do that late winter, early spring work, you know, that you would do in a garden, and continue through the process. So it won't necessarily be fast, but it does feel like it's it's right now something that feels like it can and will happen. So I feel like that's good news. So let me know if that was helpful. Um, I've got time for one more, because I'm not thirsty, but I'm hungry. So let me know if that was helpful. Fire transformation. And who is my last victim? I mean, my last reader. Or question. All right. So I'm hoping this is Kiki. I'm saying that right. I'm going to use the Marshmallow Marseille again, because I love it so much. So, will the situation work out in favor with regards to my internship? I really want to do it in a particular agency. So I'm going to do that. Now, as I shuffle here, let me talk about yes or no questions a little bit, just, you know, to make sure that I preface this in a certain way. One of the difficulties about yes or no questions, which is kind of how you're phrasing or your question is phrased, is remember that things change. So, you know, what might be one way today could be different. And I learned this lesson recently as I did readings for myself, as I was in the process of applying for a job, actually. So it was a similar thing. Um, I did a reading for myself before I applied, and it said, "You got this." And I did a reading right after my first interview, and it said, "You probably got this." And then I didn't hear anything for a while, and I did another reading, and it was like, "You don't got this." And I got a couple readings like that, and then I kind of gave up on it and assumed I didn't get it. And then I did another reading, and it was like, "Oh, you might have it again." you know, so timing can change things, and people have influence. So just know, you know what I mean. With like a yes or no question, which this kind of is, just know that things aren't a lock. And so, if you get a yes, things are going to work out. Keep in mind that that's not set in stone, and things could change. And the same thing if it seems likely, or if it seems unlikely. Um, and that's just my disclaimer and my general, my thing. I like to be transparent. All right, so we got the Four of Cups, the Magician, and the Eight of Cups. So just looking at this the way I normally do yes or no questions, cups and pentacles or coins represent yes. Wands and swords usually equal no. And trumps sort of put an exclamation point in there. And so, given this combination, I would say there's probably a pretty good chance that things are going to work out the way you want them to. This clearly is a very emotional thing for you. I think you have a lot of emotion, a lot of sort of self-worth tied to this. So I feel like, that can be both good and bad. I think if you can demonstrate your passion and your enthusiasm for the work, that's really going to be good. I think that if it becomes a thing where you define your worth based on how things go, then that could be rough for you. Because even if you get it, remember that it's going to be, it's going to be good and bad days. But you've got a strong foundation to stand on, and you're clearly able to do the work, because the combination of the 4 and the 8 suggests like you've got a stable foundation to build on, and you're capable of building on that. So I love the way that the 4 doubles into the 8. I also love the way that the Magician shows up in the middle, because the Magician is just really capable of making things happen. So I feel like the thing here is also kind of making sure that it's clear how good you are at getting stuff done. I think that it's worth noting, you know what I mean, that you have the knowledge, you have the skill, you've got the talent. Make it clear that that's there. The other side of that coin with the Magician, though, is people can think you're being a little tricky. So just keep in mind that, it's clear that your intentions are smart and that you're not trying to fool anyone, you know what I mean? That you're just saying, hey, look at these skills that I have. Oh, it's in social work. That makes total sense. So we've got an emotional investment in it. That's kind of good. So that you're stable and that you are willing to do the work. If we look at this as how they're viewing you, I feel like that's a really good thing. And that you're capable of making things happen in terms of the Magician. The Magician showing up here suggests to me that it's not done yet. So, keeping that work going is key. I think the other thing that's key about the Magician is that he's number 1 of 21. You know what I mean? So it feels like there's more hurdles to go through. but the ability to kind of channel your energy and put it toward what you want is there. And so I feel like that's a good thing. So, in terms of just like a quick yes or no answer, I feel like things look good right now. Keep in mind those little sort of things I pointed out in terms of potential pitfalls. Perception equals reality. So keep in mind your perceptions are people's perceptions of you are right on. But the perception right now seems to be stable and hardworking, emotionally invested. Um, I guess I would say, given your field, maybe worth making sure that it's clear the emotional investment is a healthy one. But based on this, I would say that it is. So just make sure people know that too, that it's not like an unhealthy emotional investment. But it seems like things are pointing in a pretty good way at this point. So hope that helps. So let me know. So it's just about 10 of. I do need to make dinner, and I think my other half is home now, so it's time to eat. And maybe have some gin, since you all were talking about that. I feel like I need to have it now. Thanks for bearing with me through the technical difficulties. I hope this was useful and fun. It was fun for me. I've never done this before. And now that I know-ish how to make it happen, I may do more. So, yes, there's a book coming. I don't know if you're talking about my book, but yes, I do have a book coming out. It's in the final edit. And I think that I'm hoping to have it out by Thanksgiving in the United States. So that is it for tonight. And thanks for being here, and let's try to get together again. Thanks. I keep saying thanks. And thanks to Taranis for moderating for me. I muchly appreciate it. Be good, y'all. Happy Halloween. I I have a video on my book if you want. I've got a little intro there. Thanks, everyone.